Hey, in today's tutorial we're going to make a shrunken head, just like this one. I made this shrunken head a while back and posted it on my Facebook page and on my Instagram, and got a lot of requests for a tutorial, and it took me a long time. I'm sorry for those that asked for it, but here it is. We're gonna do it. This just resembles a shrunken head, similar to what the Jibaro Indians did in South America, in the Amazon, to the people that they captured. They would, for a long time, we didn't know what happened to the head and how it shrunk, but then they figured out that the head was boiled, the skull was removed, eyes and mouth were sewn shut, and they ended up with a nice souvenir, a pocket-sized head. Okay, for this, we're going to need some sort of skull. I use these guys, which come in a bag like this, and there's a link in my website to get these guys. But you can use anything that you want. You can use a big skull or small skull. You can even make your own base by sculpting it out of aluminum foil. So we need a head. For the corpsing we need toilet paper and glue, a little bit of water. We need some hair for it, so this lady right here donated her scalp, and from that I made about 10 of these. So that's all you need, any sort of hair. So it might be her donating her scalp this time for this tutorial. We'll see when we get there. We're going to need some burlap, and the only reason we're going to use these strings to sew the different parts. We need some paint for the dry brushing. That's the whole secret, to make it look like a dead skin. So let's get started with this. And as always, the tutorial is in the website. There should be some show notes below this video in the description, which will take you to the materials list with links where you can get it, as well as step by step with pictures on what you need to do in case you missed something in this video. So let's get started. Let's make a shrunken head. The first thing I'm going to do to be able to work with this with both hands is just set it up on a base. This is a piece of styrofoam. It used to be the neck from one of my other props that I cut off, and that'll work perfectly. And I have a toothpick, and I made a tiny little hole on the bottom of the skull. So I'm just going to put some hot glue around the hole. Put a toothpick in there, and then slide it on the foam so I have a place to work. I'll just put a little drop of hot glue here to secure it. That's it, we're ready to start corpsing. So I'm going to change the angle. I'm going to bring it close so you can see what I'm doing, and that's this fabulous shot of me, so you can see the actual work. I'm taking equal parts of water and glue, about a spoonful, and mixing it all together with my brush. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some toilet paper, and we're going to remove the edges. So the best way to do that is to just zigzag your toilet paper on where the perforations are. And you can fold it in half and remove this edge. And the idea is to not have any straight lines that show on the face when you start corpsing. So get rid of all the straight edges. And we open it again. We're going to take this edge off. That will blend much better as skin. As you can see on the reference piece, there is no straight lines. Everything's blended. It looks like all one piece. So that's why we're cutting these. Okay, now that we know that we have no straight edges, we can start just making some strips. out of it. I'm going to start on the top of the head, the back, and the bottom. And I'm going to leave the face for last because we're going to build some features like the lips. If you want to sew the lips shut, we're going to have to build some lips that we can sew shut. The other thing I like is covering the eyes flat with toilet paper so that it looks like there was an eyelid there and it's empty now. See if you can see it here. Let's get some focus. As you can see, there's a piece of toilet paper in the eye, and then after I was done, I just cut it with a knife. The trick for this to look like this is to also paint the eye socket black. So I'm going to have to paint these eye sockets black. There you go. So now let's start corpsing, and the way we're going to do this is quite simple. We take a little bit of the glue and water mixture, and we're going to paint over. Okay. I'm going to take a piece of the toilet paper, and we're just going to lay it on top, and with the brush and with your hand just blend it right into the skull. The more messy you make this, the more wrinkled it will be and the cooler it will look. So don't try to be too much of a perfectionist, which is hard for some, especially for me when I see these wrinkles. But if you can see, those wrinkles right there are going to become what looks like these wrinkles right here. If you look at the cheek, see all those wrinkles? That's from putting this toilet paper. And just put it in different directions. So I went side to side, then front to back. Get some glue and just cover it. Sorry, I'm a lefty, so I'll keep blocking your view. I am going to speed through this part, but the process is the same. I'm just adding layers and layers of wrinkly toilet paper and then covering it with the water glue mixture. Okay, I'm going to do the eyelids now, and all I'm going to do is put a piece of paper straight across the front. I just won't go over the teeth, but from the nose all the way to the forehead. And maybe put a couple pieces to strengthen it up. That will create some eyelids that we'll cut open later. If you want to keep some detail like the nose, just use your brush to push the detail in gently. Now I'm going to start doing the lips. For that, I'm going to fold a piece of toilet paper in half and start where the lips start, right here, and paste it upwards. So, I know that sounded, here's how you do it. Just get on there with the glue. Now we're going to do the chin. We have most of the head corpse now, and what we gotta do is the lips. So for that, what I do is I take a piece of toilet paper and I twist it. Just make sure you leave the ends open so that can be glued down. I wet my finger with the glue just to help it get that shape. And that is one of the lips. There are the lips. Now I'm going to blend them with more toilet paper on the top and bottom. We're almost done with this. What I'm going to do is put just one more layer over the eyes, and then I'm going to let this dry. And there you have it. I'm going to let this dry thoroughly. I'm going to put it in front of a fan, and we'll be back to start with the painting and finishing. This is now completely dry. I let it dry overnight since I put a few layers of toilet paper and it was pretty soaked up in the glue. So the longer you can wait, the better. I also put it in front of a fan to speed up the drying process. The next step is to coat it with black exterior latex. I do this with all my dry brushing. I like to start with the darkest color, black in this case, and it gives it a protective coating of rubbery, mess. If you put a thin enough coating on it, you won't lose any of the detail. We are going to let this dry for about 10 minutes and then we start doing the dry brushing and all the detail work. Our shrunken head is now totally dry, it's not sticky anymore, so we're going to start doing the dry brushing. I'm going to start with the dark green brown using acrylic colors, and we're going to start dry brushing. The first coat that I'm doing is going to cover about 80% of it, so I'm going to still leave the black on the very deepest nooks and crannies of the face, but I'm going to use the darkest shade of brown, greenish color to cover most of the head. If you can see on this head, most of it does not look black. It only looks black in the very deepest areas. So we're going to do the same with this. Oh, if you overdo the color, you can wipe some of it up with a paper towel. I think this looks cool. I think it needs to be just a little bit more brown. So there is that first coat. As you can see, still a little bit shiny, but some of the shine has come down. Now we're going to go with a lighter color and a lighter color and a lighter color until we get all the highlights and all the detail come out. Make sure you let your work dry in between coats of dry brushing. I let this dry, and for this next coat I just added a little bit more yellow and just a touch of white. I don't want to go all the way light, but we're going to start lightening up. And make sure you let the excess color on a piece of newspaper. As you can see, as you go lighter, all the features of that wrinkled toilet paper start showing up and it starts looking like skin. Now I'm going to do one more coat of a lighter version. I'm just adding a little bit more of yellow and a little touch of white, and that'll be the last coat. But that's for the highlights only, so this will be a really, really dry brush, like barely hitting the high spots. There you have the finished dry brushed head. I focus my attention on the front because it's going to have hair in the back. So the back is still dry brushed, but just not as meticulously as the front. The next step, we're going to cut the eye slits, and then we're going to start adding hair, and we should be pretty much done. We're going to take a very sharp knife. See if I can get that in focus. And we're going to cut the eyelids just straight horizontally. I'm going to take a pick, I'm going to pry them open just a little bit. And there are the eyelids. As you can see some of the toilet paper. So I'm going to paint the inside with a little bit of black. Here you go. As you can see, I painted the inside of the eyelids with a black color. I just used a toothpick to get that color back there. And I painted between the teeth with a black line. I just used a toothpick there too. The next step is to add hair. So I took this volunteer Barbie and cut her scalp off. Looks like that. So it used to be something like this, and now she looks like that. And this will be the hair that will go on this guy. The technique here is if the hair is going downwards, we're going to start gluing it from the bottom in a row and then glue the next row and then the next row until we get to the top. So it's almost like the shingles on a house. You put your first row, then your next row, then your next row, and then your next row. So you start at the bottom and go all the way up. On this one, I want the hair to go straight up because I am going to hang this guy from my rear view mirror. So I'm going to do the opposite. Since pretend it's upside down, right? We're going to start at the bottom, do a row of hair, then another row, then another row until we get all the way to the sides. So we're going to start at the top and work our way bottom to the bottom with the hair aiming straight up. For this step, you're going to need your trusty glue gun and the hair. We're going to take a little, what do you call it, like a tuft of hair, and you're going to cut it. Just like that. Make sure all your lengths are pretty close and just fluff it up a bit. And we're going to put a drop of hot glue on the top. And just spread it into a thin layer so you don't have any big chunks of glue. And use a toothpick or similar tool to press the hair onto the glue. There is your first piece of hair. You could probably leave it like that. I'm going to add a little bit more hair so that we can make it a hanging shrunken head. I'm going to show you one more time, and then in normal speed, and then I'll speed up the video of the rest of the head. I think this looks pretty cool like that. Crazy hair, maybe you can leave it like that. I am going to make maybe like a ponytail style thing so I can hang it, like I said, from my rear view mirror in my car. So the hair is done. You saw the technique. If you want the hair to grow down, just reverse it. Like I said, start at the bottom and build yourself up as you stick the hair. It is a long and tedious process, but it pays off. As you can see, it looks pretty cool. The next step we're going to do is put some stitches in the mouth. I was debating it because the teeth look pretty cool, but I'll probably do just 3 stitches. Just going to use some burlap. I'm just going to pull 2 or 3 strings out of it, and that's going to be our stitching. And using a sharp tool like this pick right here, I'm going to pierce 3 holes on the top of the lips. I'm not going to actually sew the lips shut. I'm just going to make 3 holes like that where I can stick the string in so it looks like it was it's coming out of there. I don't want to risk ripping off the corpsing. That's what I did on this one. As you can see, the string doesn't go through. It's just glued right there at the top and then glued at the bottom. All I'm going to do is put some hot glue at the end of this and just push it in with the toothpick. We're going to do all three like this. We're going to do the same for the bottom, and then we can tie these strings together. I'm making these different legs so it looks a little bit more natural. There's your stitching on the mouth. Now I'm just going to make the ponytail, and we should be pretty much done with this guy. I'm just going to remove this and carefully cut the toothpick from under the head. Right, so that will be painted. And there is, that's the wrong side, there is your shrunken head. Your brother and his sister. How's that? Well, there you have it. That is our tutorial for shrunken heads. This kind or that kind. It's an easy process. It just has a lot of steps, but it's super cool, super easy, very impressive when you show this to somebody. Or that. This one will go on my shelf. This one will go on my rear view mirror. So if you like this tutorial, give it a thumbs up, subscribe over here, show notes, materials, everything below, monstertutorials.com/shrunken. Okay, so there should be a title like right about here with the name. So subscribe, like, go visit the website for all the materials. Cheers.